go.
Welcome aboard. Happy Monday. It's November 16th, 2020. Welcome aboard. Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 426.
How do we do it, man?
Some days I don't know. But today we're good. We appreciate you tuning in. We know you have a lot of options in the podcast universe, especially those that are triathlon related. So we appreciate you giving us your time. We cover all things triathlon, and we cover a whole lot of life, especially this year. We're often talk about swim, bike, and run specifics. We'll do race recaps, race previews. Hey, we may even do that today. Who knows? We'll have on the occasional guest. Oftentimes we'll hop in our closed group, which we'll probably do later this week to let them drive the conversation, do a little Q&A. But you can hop onto Facebook and search Crushing Iron Group, answer one simple question. We will let you right in. A lot of awesome people in there that are...
Come on in.
Yeah, come on in. Welcome. It's a great time. Listen, it's never been more necessary to be part of a encouraging and positive community, in my opinion. So come on in. There's a lot of people that have a wide variety of experience levels, from Ironman champions to beginners to people who have never even done a triathlon. It's just a bunch of awesome people. So pop in there. Mike and I have been doing this for 4 years. We come to you twice a week, traditionally Mondays and Tuesdays, but always twice a week, as we are gearing up for some holiday and race travel with the greatest holiday of all time, which is next week, which is Thanksgiving. And for those of you that have been decorating for Christmas before Thanksgiving, well, you only have yourself to blame for the state of the country right now. The last 2 weeks, it's all on you. Put up a Christmas tree, put up a light, and it's on you. Thanksgiving, it's the greatest. Stop diminishing it. It is not Christmas preseason. It is Thanksgiving, okay? Get it right.
Time for family and friends.
It is family, friends, and football.
I know,
like it's the
that's
greatest
what I keep
one.
saying. Family, friends, and football.
My
Let's
God.
hope. Let's just hope.
That's it. That's all we do. But Mike and I are both coaches and athletes. Been together doing this for, again, 4 years. Been best friends for 7. And we are currently just navigating our triathlon life and journey just like you. We're not professionals. We're not experts. We're just like you. And we're trying to do the best that we can given the life that we have and the stress and our goals and objectives. So that's what we try to do in this podcast, is share our experiences, our ups and downs, our successes, our hopefully our triumphs, but often a lot of times our struggle. And hopefully that can relate to you in a positive way, and you can take something from it and apply it to your own training. No sponsors, no ads, one agenda, and that is to hopefully help keep you happy and healthy along your triathlon or endurance sports journey. I feel like that was a strong intro.
It was pretty strong,
Thanks.
yeah. If speaking of the community piece, if you're looking for community support system for next year, we're all going towards next year a little bit. Except you got to race this weekend. A lot of people are racing this weekend. We've got a new program called the C26 Club. You can go to C26triathlon.com. Go to the coaching drop down and you'll see the club. Check it out. It's basically we'll take your whole next year and around your races, schedule a training plan. Take the worry and stress out of all that. Plus, we've got a lot of great people coming in there, and I'm working with a lot of people. I haven't got to you yet. I'm getting to you. I saw a couple come in last night, and we're really doing good in there. And it's a great program, and we'll lay out your training plan for next year for 349 for the year. And I look forward to working with you. I think it's something to check out. We're going to be having, it has a lot of like C26 athlete benefits and things like that. So check into it. And I know Coach is excited about it.
I love it. I mean, it's not everyone is in for, fully on, customized coaching like we provide for the most part. Our athletes we work with are mostly on a year-round basis. So, but it's a great option or substitute for that in terms of, letting another coach or someone else, customize your training program for the whole year. Obviously, it's not the exact same as weekly customized coaching, but it does offer a lot of the good benefits and perks. And really, just like you said, the biggest thing is just the removal of stress and you having to think about, am I doing the right thing at the right time, at the right intensity, leading up to the right race? And it can be a huge stress relief, and not only, just for your performance, but also just in life and making you enjoy the journey, especially when, as we've seen this year, it's been a rough go for a lot of athletes, especially with, I think we did this last Thursday, and I think Thursday night was when I got the emails and the text messages and the feverish frenzy of disappointment that was the cancellation of Ironman Arizona, which was it was a gut shot. I mean, it was a gut shot for me too. Like, it's been that kind of year, and you never can really, I think, put all your eggs in that basket and be super hopeful. I think you're always going to have, I mean, in myself, like I get excited about racing Texas 70.3 on Sunday, and then I kind of find myself reserving myself like back and like being like, all right, don't get too excited yet. You know, it could still fall. You know, like just be. I mean, I told you that on Friday, like I hopped on the bike for like my last hard bike ride, and as I was like getting on, I was like, oh my god, like, do I really want to do this? Because like, you know, Arizona got canceled, but that's Arizona. You know, and that's a huge difference in terms of, you know, Texas and just different states do different things. So, but it was hard. I still got on and did it, and I felt better when I got done. But it was just, especially with Florida going off, I think it was just a gut shot. There was a lot of hope and optimism, and I still think there is. But, you know, for athletes that have trained for such a long year, and that's the thing, like these races, especially races that go on later in the year, they're just tough. I mean, they're tough no matter what. Every year they're tough. And I always tell athletes when they ask, I think I'm going to sign up for a full, you know, or my big race in, you know, really mid to late October, November, December. The first thing I kind of warn them about is that just kind of mental and emotional fatigue that is the pressure and the expectation and the rigidity of like having a structure and expectations that you put on yourself all year long, and always having something that you feel like you have to do to get prepared. It wears on you. And to have gone through that, and I said this in kind of my talking to you about it on Friday when I came in, and then even in my weekly kind of check-in email this morning to our athletes, is that, you know, the best way I can describe it, you know, this year, and I think we've been mentioning this before, is like a lot of us feel like, you know, and again, like, you know, you can hop on the soapbox of events and racing isn't that big of a deal, and in the grand scheme of life, it's not. But to each individual athlete, it holds a specific level of importance based on their own reality, based on what they're going through. And as a coach, like it's been a hard year to listen, even just this morning, to listen and to watch and to read athletes in their struggle with so many different things this year, and to feel like they don't have an outlet to express that. And obviously you can do that in training, but for most athletes, what training does, it just provides you a structure and some kind of an outlet to know that you can control your 30-minute run for the day. Of all the other hours in the day that could be unpredictable and out of your control, where you're being a parent, you're being a spouse, you're being an employee, you're navigating life, like at least you can go out for 30 minutes, leave everything at home and do you and be yourself, and kind of, you know, feel like you're taking something back from the world that can sometimes, you know, suck the life out of you. And so, you know, I think and again, the best analogy I give is like, you just feel like you're a boxer that's pinned against the corner of the ring, and you've just been taking kind of body shots, you know, all year long. Like, I think that was like the strategy of Muhammad Ali in the Rumble the Jungle, was he wanted to really, really fatigue, I think it was Foreman, his opponent, and he just let him take body shots and body shots and body shots and body shots for like the first like 6, 7, 8 rounds. Like he just took it because he wanted to wear him out. And then he actually just came out and just started like flying punches. So for athletes, it feels like when a race gets close that you're like, I finally get to pop out of that corner. I finally get to land a few jabs, and I finally get to, you know, stop taking body shots and hopefully land that final uppercut, which is me giving it back to life and just me taking it. And then right before you do it and right before you pounce back and start to swing, you're like, nope, I get restrained again. And it's frustrating, and I get it. And I think, you know, again, like that's why racing and that outlet of freeing yourself and expressing your fitness and showing all of your hard work and how you bounce back and kind of feeling like you're sticking it to life, like it's a way for us to all manage our emotions. And I think that's like a very, and people do that in training. I mean, I do that a lot too. Like if I'm, you know, I think that's one of the greater, that's not a mystery, I don't think, but I think it's it is a mystery to some people about why it is so easy to actually deal with our emotions while we train instead of just sitting there with them. You think, wait, I'm out there running, I'm having to focus on what I'm doing and the terrain and the effort level, but by multitasking, it actually makes it easier to kind of deal with, like, you feel like you and I both shared experiences where we both gotten like emotional on runs, or we've done something like you feel like the emotions like coming up. And, you know, I don't know, like I was thinking about on the drive over this morning, where I think part of it is that like what we feel in life and what we're going through, whether it's anxiety, depression, loss, fear, anything, any one of those huge feelings that just really, really hard to go through. If we're numb or if we are scared to deal with it, like it can feel like a really, really insurmountable emotion to deal with. And because it becomes the focus feeling. Yet I know that I've hopped on, I mean, you know this, I mean, there have been days where there have been rough days the last, you know, few weeks and months where I've actually hopped on the bike and probably had some of my best sessions, not because I've taken out anger or whatever, but because I've actually been able to, and I think for me, and this is not scientific. Obviously, we're the non-scientific podcast. This is not scientific, but in my personal experiences, I kind of did some introspection this morning, was that I think what it allows is that we kind of we allow two things to bubble up at once and kind of battle against each other, which is if you're having like an emotional and mentally rough day and you're kind of battling these emotions and you want to deal with them, they can seem huge because it's the only thing in your vision. It's the only thing that you're feeling. But if you can physically raise the effort or the uncomfortable pain or discomfort, I guess is a better way to put it, of a training session, then it kind of evens it out. Does that make any sense? Like you have these two, it's kind of like, when you're like, oh, you've got a bad headache, let me touch this pressure point that's going to hurt you. And it takes the other part of it away because it doesn't necessarily distract you, but it kind of evens out the focus of what one pain is. And I think that's true for a lot of athletes. And as we get into, the holiday season, which is again, traditionally hard for people in general because everyone has, family, the fun of family and all these kind of things. It's not, a happy, cheery time for everyone, but that's why training provides such a great place to stay grounded and deal with emotions. And I think racing is just another kind of step up from that as a release, and why you see so many emotions come out of people that cross the finish line or on race day morning. I've had them before. It's that next level of dealing with life and our emotions that I think we all need.
Yeah, it's the thing with emotions, right? I feel like we always talk about the hit me in the gut or the hit me in the heart and those types of things. And I think that's a real thing. Obviously, the blood flow goes to your heart and your gut, and it's kind of like you close in and turn in. And I think a lot of times exercise sort of pumps that blood back into your brain, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a high or an excitement. And when you're talking, it's just sort of like kind of reminds this whole thing that we're going through sort of made me think of the serenity prayer. It's that thing about control what you can, and have the wisdom to, let go of things you can't. So it's like, but we like excitement, right? And I think that's the human emotion of things. It's like sometimes we want to get high and on training, and with races, they jack us up and all that kind of thing. And I was thinking too, it's like, I wonder how this, like, with the people who have trained for Arizona is a great example. You're training for an Ironman, and then a week before you're going to race. I mean, the things you go through to get to that point, if you're actually all in, have to be unbelievable. And all of a sudden they're pulling it out for. So I was wondering how that feeling might compare to that post-Ironman depression. Is it similar, or like I would really be actually curious to hear from people if they email me crushingiron@gmail.com. I'd like to hear if you just went through that, and then how you can compare that to the down feeling that a lot of people get post Ironman, because it'd be an interesting comparison for me.
Yeah, I don't know personally, but from what I understood from athletes and kind of their initial feedback, I think it's worse. And we use like the graduation.
Nothing.
Right. It's like we use the graduation, thing example. It's like, you in college, like, you study, you work hard for 4 years, and it's like you get, Ironman, the race day is just a graduation. Like you're doing the deal. Like it's the journey. And then it'd be like, studying hard and be like, oh, you can't actually walk today. You can walk in a year from now and but we're not going to consider you a graduate. So you're going to have to wait. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do the next year? Like, I've done all this work and I have nothing to show for it. Like, nothing tangible in terms of the race and the experience. Yes, have you gained fitness? You become fitter? Have you, become a better athlete and probably achieved a lot of things and grown as a person? Sure. But good God, do we still need like something to be like, yes, for me, like that we did it, and like, because that athletes like expressed like how frustrated they were because their family had booked flights, they had taken off vacation days. It was going to be like this whole experience, because a lot of people have such a huge support crew and system around them, friends, family, whatever. It's like that are also like ready to like cheer you on. And I think, again, like in a year where people have, I think, been robbed and that I've never needed wins more than they have this year. Like, we all need some wins, and I think that like even like the spectator part, because you can't have spectators at races right now, and you have the support crew. I think if you've ever been to a big race, any kind of race, whether it's an ultra, whether it's a long bike ride or a swim race or a 70.3 or whatever, you can be at the finish line and you can feel the wins of the people that you don't even know. you get energized, you get excited. I mean, take for example, like I think his name was Chris Nikic. Maybe I'm butchering his last name, but he was the gentleman with Down syndrome that finished Ironman Florida too. He's like watching like the Facebook feed, and he like galvanized probably tens of thousands of people, like just with one action, right? And because it was such an incredible story. And I mean, I had people that like I had never even knew about triathlon. Like, hey, did you see so-and-so? I'm like, see, that's like, we need that, not just from people like Chris, but from us all, right? Because we can all do these things. And yes, it's more incredible and probably touching when a guy like him is able to accomplish it, because it really is. But, like we all need, we all need, it's probably even more so because we all need it. Like we, our friends, our family, like you've even said, like when you've raced, like you've had, guys that reach out like, man, that really motivated me. It's like, whether they stuck with it or not, like it's a moment to where we feel energized by other people's accomplishment and the showing of their resiliency and accountability. And because it's not about fitness. When you see those people cross the finish line, like more people get pumped up. I think, and in my experience, you see more people get emotionally and mentally and even physically pumped up and energized the last 2 hours of an Ironman, not the first two, by seeing the people and what they've overcome and the joy and the emotion and like the tears and the triumph. Like that's what you get pumped up from. And we need that. We need that through ourselves. We need that through our people. We need that through our loved ones. We need that for our community to, because you don't want to run dry on it. And I think that's what, I think that's why it's harder in a lot of ways to, and I'm sure they both have like, their drawbacks and their positives or whatever. But, I think it's hard. There is no, as if like most things in this, circumstance, it's like there is no perfect answer. It's very complex.
It is, man. And I'm the first guy that's going to be like, cause I'm really into meditation and the monk story and that whole, fantasy of just being at peace with whatever is. And it's, but man, like the thought of just waking up every morning and walking down a path and picking weeds, for your whole life is, it's like, it's fascinating to me, the thought of that. But it's just like most of us, and I don't know if it's just because of, how we've evolved, in civilization or whatever, but it's obviously like you need that. But like the idea of sort of balancing out those highs and lows, I really appreciate, and I think over time that's happened to me with Ironman itself, because as you're saying, I was like, it's like the first one you do, or the first couple you do, they just have this different sort of impact on you. And over time they do balance out, but like, it's still like, where do you find, I think we all just sort of need that drive and that passion and something to, pick us up and push us forward. Because, and for me, like I was talking about, is a lot of times it is actually going to races, when I see it and I'm like, man, I just want to do it. It's like, don't tell somebody they can't do it when they're in the middle of doing it, And I just think it's been tricky, to say the least. People
don't want to race; they want that feeling, right? It's like nobody cross finish like, what I want to do? I want to train really, really hard for I want to make sacrifices. I want to work hard. I want to have bad days. I want to have a couple good days. I want to have some great days and some horrible days. And I want to wake up really early one day and I want to spend some money and I want to get out there and I want to really put myself into some hard situations. That's what I want to do. No, they see that and they're like, I want to feel that.
It's like a primal thing.
It is. Like
I think we just can sit around at a computer all day and like do great things, but it just doesn't feel that good. You have to really just go out and challenge your body and do things that are hard, that feel tough. And that's when you kind of like build that reassurance in your brain. It's sort of like, yes, I'm alive, versus like, sitting on a phone all day and just like, hey, make that deal, whatever. That's just like, it just loses its luster.
No, I think that is a lot part of it. But again, like, I think when you see people, like, I want, sometimes I don't even know if I want that feeling. It's maybe for some people, it's like, I just want to feel, right? It's like you said, like, I want that high, like, or cause like there's, people always talk about the lows and they talk about the highs, but that's also what, like, like when you have this, like, and it comes with both, like in my experience, like the more happiness you have also becomes with it, like the more pain, because you know the extremes. You understand what it's like because you feel a lot. You know what it's like to be incredibly grateful and incredibly happy and overjoyed, but you also know what it's like to feel an immense amount of pain if you're a person who's vulnerable and out there and doing like, but if you're not, and you're kind of just even keel all the time, which, you know, I think is a good thing in a lot of ways, but it also can make you numb and disassociative in terms of like, you know, because we're all afraid, like the happier we get, the more pumped we get, our expectations get higher, then the fall is much greater and the fall hurts a lot more. Right. And so we don't want that. We don't want the reciprocal, like with feeling. And like I've been mentioning this morning to like a couple of people that are asking me about the race. And I was like, to be honest with you, I'm trying not to get excited. Right? Maybe Thursday when I pull out of Chattanooga, will I get really, really excited? Of course, I've had some thoughts and feelings and stuff about it, but it's like, you know, and I will, you know, once it happens, I'll get that pumped and feeling, but it's like, feelings are good, right? It's like we go through so much of life and we're told, you know, like, you know, it's, I guess, true feeling and turmoil and because when you overcome those things, it changes who you are, and you can't change through just not feeling anything. Like it's like the, you know, and I'll give another shout out and bump his sales up as if he needs it. Ryan Holiday's book, Obstacles Away, is like, that book literally changed my life in a period of where I was going through immense pain and like turmoil and anxiety every single day. And reading it and applying some of it was just like, if you choose to look at it this specific way, it will change the way you look at obstacles instead of like hindrances and these terrible things. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And like, this is going to allow me actually to grow and be able to take on like these other different challenges in my life. I think like, I just think it's part of what we're supposed to experience in life is, you know, is life supposed to be perfect and sunshine and rainbows all the time? No. Is it supposed to be the worst day ever and the darkest of your days? No, it's not supposed to be like that every day. It's just not. And, you know, I read and I read comments of people who are struggling right now and like they're having a difficult time. Like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. But you are supposed to, I believe, have that full range of emotions. This is fine, this is okay, but also this is awful, but also this is wonderful, right? You're supposed to have that range of emotions and feel those things. And I think in general, training and racing allows people and encourages people to become vulnerable with themselves and what they're feeling and thinking and express that and work through their emotions to help them become more like I think training helps people mentally and emotionally more than it can physically in a lot of cases.
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's like the thing about that's been really challenging with everything we're going through right now is this, like, I like the idea of facing fears, and it's always hard, but it's even harder when we're like more passive about it, you know? And I think that, you know, there's been several times in my life when I've like faced enormous fears and it was just, it was heart-wrenching. It was just incredibly difficult. Like when I started drumming the first time I ever played drums on stage, I don't think I've ever been that nervous in my life. I'm like, what am I doing up here, for one thing? And it was the most embarrassing, like difficult, you know, 20 minutes probably that I can remember in a long time. But like, I got through it, and I'm so glad I did, because then it just sort of opened up a whole new avenue for me. It opened up a whole new world. And I think that facing fear is something that we have to do. And it's sort of like the obstacles away, right? I mean, we need to set up an affiliate link on our website for him to start cashing in on the
seriously,
sales.
He's got, just obstacles away, ego's the enemy. You know, it's stillness. Like they're awesome. Just buy them and you're welcome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got a question for you. You said
no.
You're trying to hold back the excitement a little bit. You're trying to like temper your excitement. Is that excitement? Would you say you're more excited, or do you have any nerves? Are you nervous about that? Because it's been a while since you raced, but like
been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a minute. It's been.
But is it more excitement or nerves?
That's a good question. And I don't know, to be honest with you. Like, I have a lot of, I guess let me put it this way. I have a lot of feelings surrounding the race. You know, like I have, and I guess it's hard for me to really pinpoint the exact feeling that's like driving me to be excited about it. Cause I think excitement, obviously, like I think it can mask a lot of other like thoughts and feelings about racing. But I guess my hope for the morning of the race day is that I hope that I'm able to approach it very much the way that you and I, or that I know specifically, I think you did too, like approached 2013 Ironman Louisville in August, was that that there was no bad outcome for the day. That it was, I've never been at more peace starting a race than I was then. I was emotional. I was just thankful and grateful. And I will be. I'll be that for this race too, just incredibly grateful and thankful. And I think I'm, well, you know, and you can be, and I am grateful and, you know, excited and at peace with so many things in life, but yet you kind of need that moment to kind of like put it up on the pedestal you feel like it deserves. Does that make sense? Like, I think, that's what I'm excited for is, you know, does that make sense? Like, yeah, like I woke up this morning and I was like, man, I'm really thankful. Like, this is like I don't know, emotional week maybe for me. Like I'll be 7 years sober on Friday, which is a big deal for me. And it also reminds me of like the terrible place I was in before that. And so it's just a lot of feelings that I always have this week. And a lot of them is gratitude. I write a bunch of people, you know, this week that were a significant part of that journey. And so I think that I have that emotion, but yet I think to a different level is that, and what I felt at Louisville that year was that I feel like in order to give it, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, is that I feel like in order to give that gratitude and thankfulness and peace the level of I guess the jolt or the energy that it deserves for me to display outside of the other things you can do by just telling people is like, I'm looking at the race, I think, as a way to, and I'm sure you're picturing around Mike's like sitting up in a chair and I'm laying down on a couch right now. He's giving me like a hardcore therapy session. Copay $20. Coach Aaron Copay 20.
Just let it flow.
Just
man.
let it flow. I think that
you're safe here.
Yeah, this is a safe place. He's actually got some ink boards I'm trying to like discern. Is that I think I'm looking at it as a way to thank myself, honestly. Like to feel like that level of pride that I've made it, that I've not, I mean, even though like, as most of you know, if you listen to this podcast here, I had no, like zero, like I was not racing a triathlon this year. I hadn't fully retired for forever, but I was training for Leadville. It got canceled and I was just kind of looking for something to kind of like jolt me back and, you know, a consistent routine. And then the next thing that happened, I'm here. Like I'm in some decent shape. Like I'm in the best shape of my life. I don't know. Like, you know, I know that I'm excited, you know, and I think I'm grateful to have had even just the opportunity to be at this point. You know, it's like, I always say there's nothing really wrong with optimism because the things you gain by being optimistic always outweigh the disappointment in the moment of, and I've gained a lot in the last few months. And so I think I want that feeling to kind of use it as a giant way to work through emotions and thoughts and feelings, because a race is a bigger magnitude, it is a bigger display of that. It is a bigger day. It'll be, you know, the bigger day of the year that I have. So I think I'm anxiously and excited to have that opportunity to be grateful and to kind of thank myself. That sounds weird, you know, for making it this far, and to, you know, because I think what we do with our training and we do with racing a lot of times is we do that. We reinforce the positive things we feel about ourselves, you know, that we can overcome things, that we can, you know, that we can make the time, that we can improve, that we can, you know, do what we're saying we're gonna. Like, I think those are all very positive things. They're not selfish. They're not egocentric. It's positive affirmation. And so I'm excited about that. I think I will race with a lot of gratitude no matter what. And, you know, that's really my only focus is like race with gratitude, be very thankful, and execute. And I feel like I can do both those things, and, you know, the day will be what it'll be, you know, but if I want to enjoy that experience and that feeling surrounding the race.
Yeah. I think when we get into this idea of racing, there's a lot of, obviously, I mean, we train for certain things and we ride hard. Like you've been really, really working hard on the bike. And I just think it's so easy to get trapped in this idea of like the tri-calc world or whatever. I mean, I've had, not all my races have I raced with grace and gratitude. I've had some, and I know those races are the best races I've had. So it's like thinking about, I know I'm in a good place when I'm standing on the shore or the pier, whatever it is, and all I'm thinking about is I can't wait to feel that water on my face. And it's not about like, I can't wait to crush this swim or whatever. And it's sort of like I get in the water and I feel the water and what it feels like to be in an open body out in nature. And then like my first several strokes, I kind of take a slow look around, and I'm really involved in that process. And it just sort of, takes care of itself. I'm not thinking about the run or the bike or anything like that, but I'm just right there. And I think that's what happens is like, if we can really feel that in the moment thing and just be grateful for being in that water. I mean, it's just, there's something amazing about it, really. I mean, you're out there, you're allowed to swim with hundreds of other people and you're just flowing along in this beautiful open water. And then it just sort of all seems to kind of come to place. I mean, it's sort of like, I used to own a screen printing company. And like I was saying, I think I've talked about this before, but like sometimes when we'd start a job, all I could think about was being done. I never was there. I was just kind of like, let's get this thing over and get it out. And I think that's sort of the same thought process a lot of us have with triathlon is like, we just want to crush it. But like, enjoying the bike, for example, is like, they're long enough rides where you can take some time and be like, man, this is unbelievably cool to be out here. It's like, I think about, I was just kind of talking about my first race at Wisconsin, Ironman race. I did have that feeling. I was just so calm and I just could not wait to get in there and be a part of that mass start because I had been thinking about it all year. And I was like, man, I'm really in this. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, I am in this right now. I'm in that video that I watched hundreds of times or whatever. And it was a really cool feeling. And same with like on the bike, that course is so beautiful and it offers so many opportunities to just kind of like be, wow, man, I'm out here riding and I'm in part of a race, but it's not like, you're going to get done in 2 hours. You got a long time out there to really embrace that and embrace the people along the course. And same with the run. It's sort of like, I don't think you can race. I mean, it's got to be difficult to just put your head down and go the whole time. And I think that there's the ability to relax and enjoy that is going to get you, faster than you think. I told several athletes this weekend, I came up with this thing it's like, I think really triathlon boils down to being 100% in on 70 to 80%. So, I mean, I just was thinking about that. I was like, to really be in that space and focused on what, getting your systems in the right place to be at that 70 to 80% or whatever, and just being right there and being strong with it and feeling good about it instead of like bouncing back and forth into 85, 90, 70, 60, whatever, just kind of just locking in and being strong right there. And there's not a better feeling because it. It's sort of that I feel like I'm at my limit maybe, but it's also kind of that I could go for a long time.
It's so much of it is like, I think peace within acceptance is like that amount of training is good and actually significantly better than most people are going to accomplish, even though they may have like the perfectionist, mentality of I have to be 100% all the time. Because if I'm not, then it's a failure. Like we, to an extent talked about that, and I guess in a way when I was talking about, after Wisconsin blew the doors off of Michigan this last weekend, I was like, I think Harbaugh's probably going to be gone after this year. But then I was like, what else are they who else are they going to get? But at the same time, like when you come in and your expectations are so high, it's either you meet them and it's expected and you're like, oh, great, you're doing the job we hired you to do, or you're failing miserably. Like we all hate you. This isn't good. Like, and a lot of athletes take that mentality into their expectations of what a week looks like. It's like, God, week was good, but I did miss that session on Tuesday. I'm like, okay, like nobody cares. Like it's not the big of a deal. And like to focus on that, or even just to mention, is kind of like our backdoor jab at, see, you couldn't do it. See, you're not good enough. See, it's like I had this thought like yesterday, like Allie's been gone in Jacksonville since Saturday, and so it's Hayden and I doing our thing. And yesterday I was like, man, I'm probably gonna, probably take him for a run tomorrow. I was at my last long run before Texas, and it was a stroller run. And on Friday, like driving home from daycare, he was like, Dad, he was like, can we run on the Greenway down there? Because we go over 27, the river, and like we pass, right there by Cameron Harbor, like right that area. He's like, can we run on the Greenway? I'm like, yeah, sure, we can do that on Sunday. And then the day got away from me, and I was like, man, I haven't had many days off since I started training back, and I feel pretty good. But man, put him in the stroller and going out there, like I feel like it'd been more of like a negative than a positive. I was like, I'm just gonna take the day. Of course, then this morning when we had daycare, he was like, Dad. I was like, what's up, buddy? He was like, we didn't run yesterday. I was like, dude. I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're not. He looked down at the over 27 river, and he looked down at camera. He was like, Dad, we didn't run yesterday. I was like, yeah, well, like that's okay. Like, we watched the Dolphins game and we relaxed. We played football. We did whatever you wanted to do. And I was like, we'll run this week if you want to. He was like, okay. He's like, with me? I was like, yeah. I was like, damn, pushing a stroller is not what I want to do right now. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. But it's like it's like the measurement of success and the opportunity to have that. It's in winning. Like it's such a great point. It's like if you look at someone's like lifetime winning percentage and it was like, 800, you'd be like, that's incredible. Like that you won 80%, like 80% of your games, which is like an insane amount. Like, and so if you look at that in training, it's just trying to win 70 to 80% and being all in on that. Same thing goes with like, and you see it, and we'll see it all over in January as everyone tries to make 100% shifts in their diet and how they eat or how much weight they want to lose. It is I'm going to give up all these things and have no happy medium of measurement. It's going to be total sacrifice and removement of all these bad things. And they will crumble and fail in their eyes because they're not losing weight fast enough, or they had to cheat because, like cheating, like it's food. It's none of it's cheating, right? It's like, it's not, and it's about the relationship you have, and it's about doing it right most of the time. And that gets you to where you want to go. It's like, you want to lose weight, you want to get in shape. Okay, well, eat right most of the time and train most of the time. If you can do both of those things, then you'll get fit in, an appropriate amount of time. Like there is no like overnight like success thing that we put this huge expectation on. And so it is like, there's so much happiness and success that is left on the table each day with every athlete in their training and in their life when the day wasn't spectacular or their workout wasn't perfect or the week wasn't all green and training peaks and they missed that. It's like, you're missing out on like the happiness and the joy and the success that is the small things, and it's like everyone gets like these, and again, this goes back to an article by, that I read by Ryan Holiday about like quality time. And he was like, we get super excited about, I'm going to take the day off for quality time with my kids, or we're going on family vacation. And you realize like you do the same shit you did no matter what the day was. But really quality time is like getting your kid up and brushing their teeth, or doing those things where you can be present in the moment and find success in those things. Like that's what training is. That's like the success that we can have. We overlook because we expect everything to be this highlight reel of Instagram 7,000 likes and greatness that is everyone will be at awe of our accomplishment. I'm like, that's not really how any of it works. Like it's just you show up, you do a lot of boring stuff, you enjoy it, and then it kind of adds up to something like really, really spectacular in the end. But if you look at it that way, you're always going to be disappointed because it's never ending. Like we never have a completion date, right? If we're always evolving and always looking at things, and as like I look back on like my journey with sobriety, it's like I can't really ever celebrate. Like you celebrate, you're like, I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but you're like, but I can't because tomorrow I'll do the same thing. It's not like it's not over, right? If I was like, I'm done, this has been fun, like this journey's been great, then you're like, whoa, then bad things are going to happen again. It's a journey that you are never done with until the day you die. So you never really have that, like, there's no completion date, right? But the completion date is every day, and that every day is a success. And that's how I think if you looked at training and how you prepare for things in life, it's like every day has a specific ability to show you and to express happiness and joy and success if you are willing to look at it that way, right? Yes, you're going to have crappy days, and like I have crappy days again, just like the next person, but even within those days, you can, if you want to, you can peel back the layers and be like, I think actually I can find some success in that. Like I feel like that was a good thing. I think that's, again, like going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, it's like you're having a crappy day, but you get that 30-minute run in, you're like, see, I notched one up for the home team. Like I got one, and that's your success. Like you can at least hang your hat on that.
Yeah. I'll say it again. As a coach, I look at Training Peaks sometimes, and I am honestly just as satisfied or maybe more proud a lot of times to see some yellow, because like, can you imagine this? Have you ever seen a week of all yellow? What that might say, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Giving it
I
hell.
wasn't quite feeling it, but I was just doing it. You know, I was making the effort. And I just think it's such a fascinating thing because, you know, if you're going out for a 30-minute run and you only run 20 minutes, and then you're like, I'm just going to walk back. What's wrong with that? You know, you're not feeling, I mean, it's just like, you got to listen to your body. And I think a lot of times your body's talking to you when we're not listening. And if, you know, there's a time and a place for just greening it out. You know what I mean? Like, I always feel like I get there every year, but it always comes easier if I'm throwing yellows instead of reds around. You know, it's like doing something, like you said. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do today? And a lot of times for me, that can be like push-ups and body work, and it really makes a difference. And it's just, again, it's sort of about moving that blood around and changing your state of mind, and whatever it takes to do that. It's sort of like, if you're not feeling it today, what can you do today that kind of like sets you up for tomorrow? That's the way I look at things all the time. It's sort of like, you know, it's a tough grinder. You know, if you're looking at a triathlete that's going to be training for a big race next November, I mean, that's a long time to try to be perfect. And I just think like we will go up and down, and how do we keep that sort of middle ground, that middle way, you know, that they always talk about, and just stay in there. You know what I mean? Just enough to keep you going, and because it may flip tomorrow. That's the thing, is like, I've noticed is like, I never know like when, you know, I could go for a week or two without being like, I don't feel it. But you see me all the time. It's like, man, that just changed me. I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. And invariably, it's always like something like I did last Friday when I went out, and I'm like, I'm going to go run. And I did it. I pushed it just a little too far. I'd been running trails, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to go take an easy run along the greenway because I want to mix in some pavement and, you know, like not lose my, you know, race stuff. Away. And I did. I got carried away. I didn't feel that great, and that was part of the problem, right? Is like, I didn't feel that great, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I'm supposed to feel great right now.
I'm supposed to feel great. So I ended up, you know, like, I didn't go crazy, but like I went a little bit too far, a little than I've been used to. I haven't been running on the pavement, and it made a difference, you know. Like we went to a run camp. I quote unquote ran walk for an hour and a half on those trails, and I was like, wow, I can throw down an hour out here. And I did. I went out and threw an hour down, and I was like, that last mile, I was like, you know, I'm just not feeling it yet. So I picked it up, and I'm like, these numbers, I'm not used to seeing these. These aren't how I used to run. And I went out for that last mile or so and ran it like, you know, it wasn't crazy, but I was dipping into the 8s, you know, and I hadn't been doing that at all. And I woke up Saturday, I'm like,
Forced it.
I forced it, man.
Forced it. There's so much, like, again, like in terms of like looking at workouts for like as opportunities, no matter what happens, is like, you know, you learn from it, but then there's also a huge amount of success you can find in like capturing and showing levels of awareness, you know, like yours was understanding after, is like, all right, so next time probably shouldn't force it, or like the expectation that we have is like, I should feel good today. Like, and your body's like, okay, well, I disagree. You know, you should have been, you're like, no, but you're going to feel good today. I'm going to show you feel good. And it usually ends up being a bad recipe for, you know, for a disaster. And like, I mentioned this in the briefing of comments, an athlete this morning, he was traditionally like a hard-nosed grinder. I'm going to get it done no matter what I'm going through, I will run, I will finish. And she cut her long run short by like 45 minutes on Sunday. And she was like, I think
congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm going to send you a scratch and sniff sticker, and congratulations, put on your board, 2 points. And I was like, and she said like, and this is like, I probably had a lot of leftover adrenaline from like run camp. I was just pumped up. And like, I think I probably pushed it too hard this week. And I was like, God, I'm super proud of you. Like, because that's not the level of awareness that she would have had this time last year. She would have just done it to do it because that is success. That is me being a successful athlete. That is me living up to an expectation that you think a coach might have, but it's not. It's like your coach wants you to be healthy and happy, and that's how you measure success. And you can't do those things if you don't feel good. So by running yourself in the ground, you're actually disrespecting what you want to do for yourself and what your coach wants to do is by overdoing it just for the sake of overdoing it. Like, you're letting your ego get involved in your expectations. So like, that level of awareness is huge, and it allows people to unlock so many other opportunities within training, because they're never going to have these, not never, but they're so much less likely going to have these significant setbacks from injury or burnout, mentally, emotionally, or physically, or race bad because they don't race with their mind or their heart. They race with an expectation and a number they have to have. They are very cerebral about it, and that allows so many opportunities for success. Like, there are a lot of doors for success, but for a lot of athletes, there's just one. It's either you have this door and they have this measurement of success, or everything else is a failure. You go into a race and I think that's the sentiment that they got from so many athletes that have had the opportunity to race this year, is that none of them are disappointed. And it's not because, we have like some coaching secret and we have the greatest athletes on the planet. It's because they're just grateful. I think they went into the races with like a different perspective than we would have ever gone into them, which is like, I was just kind of happy to be here, like happy to have the opportunity to do this and have made it through the training and have gotten the start line healthy and to love it. But also within that feeling, I think also allows athletes to display a different level of performance, because they race free and they race with that ability, or with the ability to do so without the stress and the hindrance of pressure. That goes with training, goes with life, goes with relationships. There's just so many things that you can free up and find measurements of success that can drive you down such a great path in all things, and learn from it and grow and just and be happy with it. Like, you're supposed to be happy. I think you're not supposed to be always being afraid you're letting someone down, or you're not supposed to just be fine. You need to be happy. And I think that's something that we could all kind of look at with our training, is this like, am I going to feel happy? Like, regardless of like the expectation, like the completion, is like, are there opportunities for success and for me to get joy out of this and be happy with racing and with training? And if the answer is always no, and you're always saying, I don't want to do this, this is making me grumpy, this doesn't look good, then it's time to reevaluate something, because it's supposed to be a positive return on investment, not a negative one.
Mm-hmm. So like, if you drew up a training plan for me next year for Chattanooga and I just nailed everything on it, do you think that would guarantee me a good race?
I'd probably be worried.
Exactly.
I'd probably honestly, I would, because like it's never perfect. It never is, because it's either I miss something, or because that's like the first thing that I tell like a lot of athletes, like, do you want to do like a really in-depth analysis of like, what I want? And I'm like, first and foremost, athletes lie. Athletes lie all the time. They lie about how they're feeling. They lie about what they want. They lie about what they don't want, because it's all based around either what they think they want or what they think you want to hear.
Right.
And so I'm like, no, I want to see exactly what's going on. I don't want you to lie to me about how many hours you have available. Let's just work our way and see what that is. I'm like, dude, definitely got like 15, 16 hours. In their first 10 a week, they're like, Coach, I don't have the time. Yeah. That's too much. I'm like, just let's figure it out along the way. But no, I would say that at some point you were dishonest. That you
not
were
intentionally.
Intentional. Like you're no.
I was plugging in.
Deceit is another form of dishonesty. Like you probably didn't feel good some days, where you probably pushed through and probably didn't work. You probably worked out when you shouldn't have, or you had a niggle. Like there's always you're going to have missed days, and it's, I think, accepting those that allows you to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand where people are just like doing everything to the end and like commenting, I'm worn out, I'm tired, and I'm like, just back it down, please, because I that whole idea. I mean, again, it's better to be undertrained than overtrained for a race. I don't know what part of that we don't understand, as triathletes, but it does make total sense, because it's like, the reason I ask is sort of like, you put a training plan together and we hope that it's like right on the screws. Like it's right exactly what we need to be the best racer we can be that day. But I mean, there's like you're saying, man, there's like ebb and flow. You have to figure out, I mean, nobody understands everything about everything, you know? So it's like, there's no absolutes, and we have to listen to, I'm just such a big proponent of listening to our bodies and understanding what that means, and, you know, knowing when our body might be, you know, trying to trick us. And it's like all these things, you know, our brain's trying to trick us, and we're not ready for this. And, you know, you also hear this, like, I just didn't have it. I didn't think I had it. I went out and I felt great. So it's like, what? That's the thing, is like, just that yellow effort, you know, let's go out and make something happen and see what it is. And if it's not there, don't force it. But if it is there, be like, oh, that's surprising and that's welcome. And I'm going to go do it, you know,
enjoy it.
It's just the old thing about like, let your body kind of like fall into place, and then we'll see what's really going on, instead of like, you know, having a bad morning and then all of a sudden it's like, I can't do anything. Well, maybe you can.
It's always good to test the waters.
Yeah, test them.
Then either get back out, do a few little things, a breaststroke, and then call it a day, or hop in and swim for all. But it's always good to test the water. It's always good to put the shoes on, go for a walk that might turn into a run, or start a run that might turn into a walk. But at least you tried, right? At least you figured it out. Unless you were trying to experiment and get to, because it's all about like trying to getting to know your body and yourself better through endurance sports. Like that's, but if you avoid everything altogether all the time, then you won't really know. You just kind of have guessed. But it comes with like, there's plenty of times where I've gotten on the bike and been like, I just ain't got it today. Like and there's sometimes I'll even do like some exploratory like parts of like a bike ride. I'm like, let me see if I got it today. And then at first I'm like, nope, don't have it today. I'll just ride even, and you know what? Maybe I'll have it tomorrow. Instead of being like, this is just kind of what, I don't have to like it, but I have to respect it. Like that's just what my body has for the day. Because a lot of days, like you'll have it mentally and emotionally, but you won't have it physically. Like you'll want, like, you know, kind of like what you had, like you wanted that Friday run to be so great, and mentally, emotionally, you were there and you were ready, but your body was like, sorry, Mike, not today, man. And then other days, your body's totally there physically, but mentally and emotionally, you're like, whatever. You know, you're kind of like, apathetic about it. You're like, I don't really want to do this. So you can't go to like that extra place if you need to get the workout done. And then, you know, the best days are when they all three kind of like come together and you're like, everything just clicked, you know, today. So it's just a constant measurement of you know, balancing those in the scale of what's weighing on you the most and what your body needs and what you want. And it's a constant tug of war, you know, internally to figure out what your body needs and what your body wants. And then having the maturity to then give it what it wants, whether it's an easy day or a hard day, and understanding that ultimately that's what it comes down to, is respecting your body and treating it in a way to where it can continue to work for you and not end up in the shop where you have to take 6 months off.
Yeah.
You know what we're not doing?
What?
Taking 6 months off. We'll be back on Thursday.
We'll be back on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, technically. We'll probably pre-record.
4 years.
I know, dude, we're getting old.
I mean, some days we didn't have it, you know. We just, but we showed up.
That is for sure.
You know?
I don't even want to go back and listen to like the first, 424 or 5 podcasts we've done.
Oh, those are good. Some of my favorites. That's how I go to sleep at night.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they put a lot of people to sleep around. Like everybody's like, so what do you use for, to go to sleep? You know, I use white noise, or I use like crashing waves. I actually use Crushing Iron podcast episode 27, like a real snoozer.
Before your race on this weekend.
Yeah, if you want to go to bed early, put on Crushing Iron podcast episode, 101. But yeah, just show up, baby. That's what we do. We always, as usual, appreciate you tuning in. If you want more info on the things that we do, including the club membership that Mike mentioned earlier in the podcast, you can go to our website, which is C26Triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for coaching, camps, and community. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything and everything, reach out to Mike, crushingiron@gmail.com, or you can always reach out to me directly, C26Coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.